everybody, this is Chuck, and I'm here with my good friend Dean Crawford. The Air Cave Shop is his YouTube channel, and I really appreciate that he was willing to come over and spend the time today as we both went through and reviewed the Yeswelder. It's the Firstess DP200 dual pulse MIG welder.
So we're just getting ready to install the MIG gun, and Chuck and I were looking at this thing, and it's pretty impressive. It's got a swivel mount on the bottom, nice strain relief, and this thing is beefy. It looks like it's very well made. Of course, you got your contact tip and so forth. There's a contact tip unscrews. Blocking the camera there like that. They give you assortment of tips and a little wrench tool. And then this one you take out if you want to get to the liner. And they give you the graphene liner for aluminum as well. But yeah, I mean, this is really a nice, everything seems really beefy.
And both ground and torch are 10 foot long, is what we measured?
Yeah, 10 foot, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
nice,
really
nice and flexible.
And nice heavy cables too.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get this hooked up. All right, so just to help you on your polarity, so this cable here, this goes to the gun connection. So you want to make sure you plug it in for the correct polarity for the process that you're using. So right now we're on regular MIG, and if we enter that, we can go to the help menu, enter that, and right here there's a little diagram. It'll show you where you make your connection. So these two are grayed out, which are these two here, and we can see the ground clamp, it goes over here on the negative side, and the MIG gun goes over here on the positive side. And then let me change it to Flux-Core real quick. Flux-Core, and then we'll go to help. And then you'll notice these two reversed. So now it shows ground clamp on this one, and the MIG gun will go over here. Okay, so that just gives you a little reminder of how you're supposed to set up your polarity. Very handy. So we're gonna do, again, 35, 30. We're doing the 30. So it's gonna go that way. Okay. That goes on. So let's just go ahead and feed the wire.
Yeah.
There was a shortcut for feeding the wire, right?
Yeah, I think it's just pressing this guy right here.
On with our contact tip.
Tell Tommy to not blow when we're filming.
Yeah.
Are you filming?
We were. That's in that instant, but
Okay.
so to run through the first setup here of testing this unit, we're going to be in the MIG gun. We're welding steel. The gas, we're using 75-25 on the gas. Let's see, we're not using the 035 wire, we're using the 30, so you just make a change there. Metal, we're going to go to 1/8 inch, so it just bumped up to 1/8 inch, and when you hit it, it will give its synergy settings, what it thinks we should be welding at. We're going to go 2T right now. We're not going to use memory. Memory is once you have the settings you like, you can go ahead and leave it in memory so you can go back to it, especially if you make modifications. The MIG gun, we're using the MIG gun, not the spool gun. Gas check, it just ran gas. See the hose move, we're good. We're not going, pulse is off right now, and we're not getting into the advance. So we're ready to give it a rip.
I ran a few test speeds just to get the settings dialed in. So up here is where we started, and it was too cold to start with, so we've been tweaking the base settings up, and I think we're looking pretty good now. So I'm going to run a couple beads for you.
Into the base settings were what the machine said to use at 8
Right.
inch, which
And
determined
we found it was a little cold, so we had to crank it up a bit. Yeah, and we're not in pulse mode, we're just in standard big mode.
and that's typical of all welding. You've got to run some practice beads and find the machine and find the material, and right, it's just
Oh yeah.
out of the box. It'd be nice if that setting was just right on it, but
With my old school transformer based big machine, it's a lot of trial and error to get those settings right.
that's right. Yeah.
This makes it a lot easier. Test bead. Pretty dang smooth. No complaints there. All right, so that's 1/8 inch plate. Our wire speed is 270 inches per minute, and voltage is 19.6.
Yeah, it's a good looking weld.
Okay, so we've been experimenting with the pulse mode, and I want to show you a couple things that kind of got us derailed a little bit. All right, so here's all our settings. These are the recommended settings for 1/8 inch steel is what we're working with. So we got our 75-25 mix, we are our 030 wire, 1/8 inch steel. Okay, now watch what happens when we go to pulse mode. So this is important to know about. So we're going to go to pulse mode, and we're just going to do single pulse for now. Okay, on. All right, look what happened to our settings. Right away it wants us to go to a 90-10 gas mix, which we don't have. It changed our wire size to 035. So let's see if we can change that wire back to what we have. And no, we can go thicker, but we can't go back to the 030. So this was something that we actually saw a little earlier when we were just going through the menus. So when you go to pulse mode, a lot of your settings are restricted.
And when we played with the plate thickness, that didn't change the wire.
Right.
We tried doing that all.
Yeah, we tried to come over here. We tried to come over here and say, oh, well, let's just dial in a thinner material to see if it'll let us change wire size. We didn't try 16. Let's try 16. And no, it does not let you do that. So you're stuck with those two different sizes of wire. Okay. Does that mean you can't run it? No, you can still run it. Let's put this back to 1/8. Actually, what I want to do, we did this at 14. 14, we left that at 035. Okay, and we're going to run a bead with single pulse mode. All right, we're going to move the camera over and we're going to do that. Oh, by the way, when you go to pulse mode, it locks in your settings. You can manipulate the voltage, but as you can see behind the scenes, it locked in the original voltage setting, and you can add or subtract from that voltage. Okay.
Okay, so we're in the pulse on, and you can see the settings there, and it's going to sound much different than a typical weld. And you'll see the settings change, both in amperage and volts.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this was our first bead with just standard, no pulse. This was the bead where Chuck forgot to turn on the camera. And this is the last bead we just ran with in pulse mode. And it's a nice clean bead. It definitely makes a difference.
We just did a quick test. We're back at our original settings for 1/8 inch where we modified the voltage, and we're in spot weld. So we'll show you how the spot weld goes. Yeah, Dean. And we set the setting for 8/10 of a second.
I'm going to simulate tacking these two pieces together,
Yep.
and then I'll simulate a few rosette welds like you would do like for automotive spot welding.
Those two.
That works really good.
Sweet.
So I did just a slight orbit on these. When I was doing my testing, I tried a few with no manipulation, and that didn't work as good, but slight orbit seems to work the best.
Okay, let's go back to the spot and see what we had that set at. So yeah, 0.8 of a second is what we had it set at.
All right, so we're experimenting with the special 4T mode. Enter that. S4T. So here's where you can set a pre-flow, a pre-purge, the start voltage and wire speed, your welding wire speed. This slope is already factored in there, just left it the way it was. And they got a crater for ending your weld and a little bit of post flow. Most of this was just left it alone. I added just a little more pre-flow. You can do that by just adjusting here. And then I found it was a little hot here. So this was at about 270, I think, somewhere around there. So I dropped it down to 230. That seems to be working pretty good. So it follows this profile, and it's a 4T process. So you pull the trigger, machine starts to weld, you let go, you weld along, and when you get to the end of your weld, you pull the trigger again, and it will go through this process and complete the weld. All right, so Chuck's gonna run a bead here, and we're gonna watch the machine. Okay.
Habits are hard to break. I forgot to let go of the trigger.
Oh, okay. Well, let's run one more then, okay?
Yeah, that was funky.
All right.
Try it again.
Okay. Remember to do it the right way this time.
Try the right way.
All right. How'd that one feel?
Nice.
Let's see if I can swing the camera over there. All right, not too bad.
Yeah. I like it. So Dean's going to attempt or complete a T-weld there. We went back to the pulse mode, which again changed us back to 035 wire instead of 30, and we went from 1/8 inch down to 14 gauge, and it's still asking for a different gas, but we're just going with the gas that we have. I think that's it, huh, Dean?
Yeah,
Yep.
so
Go for it.
What could possibly go wrong?
Go for it. Now you can definitely hear it sounds different.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, but the welding process is very nice,
that's a pretty weld.
and that's unusual for me.
See if we can zoom in on that. No, we're all the way in. Nice.
I like. All right, so back to our normal default settings for 1/8" steel. Back to our 030 wire. We want to try one of the advanced settings here. I want to experiment with the inductance, and Chuck's going to tell you what inductance does.
So if you go less, minus on your inductance, tongue-tied, stronger, the weld will be stronger and much more of a violent arc. If we go positive, then it's smoother, less violent, and you end up with a nice, pretty look like I typically weld sometimes.
We're laughing for a reason. All right, so I'm going to start in the with the inductance at the lowest setting.
Minus setting, which will be the more violent.
More
arc.
violent, probably more splatter, more digging, that kind of thing.
Let's go for it.
Okay. It definitely had a violent sound to it.
What a pretty weld.
Still looks good though.
Damn.
All right, so now we're going to change our setting. We're going to go all the, whoops, if I can stay on the setting, Dean, here we go. Go all the way the other way. Okay.
So this should be even
This should be less violent.
less violent and a pretty weld.
Okay. Are we ready?
That one's pretty you got. Go for it. You could hear it in the sound. It was a little softer. Definitely
I was a little
softer.
shaky on that one. Let me run one more. I was
You
shaking
need a
bit on
cocktail or
that.
something. yeah.
Didn't have a good steady. That's better.
Beautiful. Which one do you like better?
That definitely makes a prettier weld, but you can tell just from the sound that it's not digging in as deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Nice. Okay, so we've switched over to aluminum, and we're using the MIG gun for this. So we have it set at the aluminum setting, 100% argon, 035 wire, 1/8" material, 2T, and we're using the MIG gun. We've already done the gas check. Pulse is off, and no advanced features. And we've switched the tank over to the argon tank. So we're ready to rock and roll. Give it a shot here.
We got a little bit of wind blowing, so hopefully that's not going to be a problem. Already wiped this down with acetone and wire brushed it with a brand new stainless steel brush. So first attempt at doing this, we'll see what happens. Okay, the wire was a little jerky, and it's welding, but it ain't pretty. I'm going to try this again. It seemed like our wire speed was a little slow. Let me just brush that a little bit. That is pretty dang ugly, but it welded. Not sure if there's a motion technique you're supposed to use or not. I'm going to try it again. Something's not right.
All right, we'll pause here.
Yeah. All right, well, one thing about this setup, when things go wrong, they really go wrong. So as you can see, I just did a bead off camera, and this one turned out nice. I mean, that's really good for a a non-TIG process. So what was happening? Take a look at this. we didn't have enough feed roller pressure, so the wire was not feeding smoothly, and it was burning back, and it actually welded itself to the end of the contact tip. But yeah, I got it working pretty good now, so let me do one on camera. All right, here we go. Got a little hot at the end. Yeah, see that all right? So, yeah, too hot at the end. I think that's pretty common. I don't do aluminum welding. So, you know, the more you go, the more heat gets into the metal and the easier it is to burn it out, burn through at the end. But man, that made a pretty smooth weld. I'm going to try to do a butt joint. And now I know I've got to speed up at the end as the heat gets in there. All right, well, that's like my third only ever aluminum weld, so I'm really happy with that. Started out cold in the beginning, so I guess if you're doing this for real, you probably want to preheat at least your starting area. But yeah, finished nicely. And yeah, we were getting a little bit of burn through there on the back at the very end. But man, it works. All right, so we're gonna attempt the lift TIG. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna select TIG, steel, okay. We have a 3/32 electrode, 1/8 inch, yeah, that's about right, okay. Spot time, let's see what that is, I'm not sure what that is. Oh, we're not spot welding.
No.
So how do we turn that off?
I think you just go by it, right? Hell. So amps, though, we got to be much higher on the amps.
Yeah, I was going to see if I can find some info on that. Spot time. Setups.
It's pretty nice how everything's right there on the screen. You don't even
Yeah.
have to go to the manual.
Okay.
No, spot timer. You just went by it
Oh, did I?
right there.
Spot timer. Sets the duration for spot welding when short, precise welds are needed.
No.
Okay. All right, so let's get out of that. Let's go back. Oh, there we go. Ah. Okay. All right, so our amperage is not enough. We're gonna have to go figure out how we get there. Oh, get the right adjustment. There we go. We're gonna need,
Let's try 120.
how about 125?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
We got the gas hooked up. We ran the
good to
flow
go.
meter. Did we already run the flow meter?
Yeah,
So we're
yeah.
okay on the flow
Yeah,
meter.
we'll take a quick look at the TIG torch, show you what's there. This is lift TIG, so there's, we didn't get the foot pedal, so this is strictly gonna be a lift start,
Okay.
which I've never done before.
Let's move the camera. Okay. Gonna go for some lift TIG.
This is about as simple as it gets. There's no automatic process. You just got a manual valve here. for your shield gas. Electrode is always hot, so as soon as you touch off, it's going to light. And I've never done this before with a lift TIG, so this will be something new.
Yep, and we got 125 amps on 1/8 inch.
All right, so no promises here. There we go.
Not bad, Dean.
It works.
Yeah.
All right, well, that doesn't look too bad. I got a little too hot on that second pass, but I mean, it works. It you can TIG with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Chuck is going to try the lift TIG. It's weird trying to stop at the end because you can't just turn it off.
Little
Oh,
slow,
not bad. Carefully.
Little slow,
Yeah.
a little slow and a little hot. Yeah.
Careful. That will
Yeah,
go if you touch.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about this is the electrode's hot.
Yep.
Pretty simple though.
Yeah, and I mean, it gets the job done, right?
Yeah. We basically went through. Let's see. We went through everything, right? We
didn't do the stick welding.
we didn't do stick welding. Yeah. We didn't do stick welding.
Or the spool gun.
Yeah. Now we didn't do the spool gun because we've done a previous video on a different manufacturer that had a spool gun. They worked really well, and so we were really anxious to try to do the MIG on aluminum, is what we were doing. All in all, why don't you give your impressions, Dean?
It's a nice machine. It's geared toward MIG welding. It's got a lot of features on the MIG welding side, various parameters and operating modes. The lift TIG and the stick are kind of just secondary. It's primarily a MIG welding machine, and it works very well as a MIG machine.
Yeah, lots of options, and you'll see it as we went through the various parameters that can be set on the unit. It was a lot of fun, and like with any welding and new to machine, it's helmet time. You got to have your helmet time and go through all the parameters. And again, we're both home hobbyists, and so we're not professional welders. We don't do it 24/7. So part of it's a learning curve as we were going through some of the items also.
One of the things I really like is the MIG gun. It's a nice beefy unit. It's not, you know, your typical light duty import style. It's actually a really nice MIG gun. The connectors are nice heavy duty connectors. You know, much better than what you typically see.
We did all the testing at 220 volt. We opted to do that instead of 110 volt. The interesting thing too is, of course, you get your paper manual. Well, this guy, along with colored pictures and everything, is built into the display here. So all of your help menu and everything is just really
Yeah, it's a handy
simplistic.
feature.
I mean, you got to learn where to push and stuff. Again, it's like helmet time, but once we were both getting faster at it, is sometimes you grab one and go, well, that's the wrong button. Where'd we go? But it takes you all the way back. Very, very good.
I got some notes here, Chuck, on
Yeah.
some of the things that interesting findings. So it has pulse mode, which was pretty impressive. The
That was
pulse
fun.
mode. Yeah,
that
yeah.
was nice.
And you'll see that in the clips coming up. But the pulse mode is not available on 120 volts. You've got to be on 230, 240 volt for the pulse mode to work. They recommend when you're running the dual pulse mode that you use 90-10 gas because it's similar to spray transfer welding. Okay, but we did it with C25. It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and when you're in pulse mode, some of the wire sizes are not available, so it forces you to a larger size wire in most cases. So you got to bear that in mind. I've got a couple other things here. We really like. It's got a nice long power cord. We really like that. Good feature. The onboard instructions, like Chuck was saying, those are really nice to have. Yeah. And I got the note again on the beefy cable connection.
Yeah.
The cables are all nice, heavy-duty cables. They're not the lightweight ones that you normally see.
On the TIG, they send you the accessories for the TIG, but they didn't send any tungstens. So that's kind of problematic if you're just starting out. Also, we didn't get any aluminum wire for the unit. Dean brought some over, and that's part of the reason that we didn't do the spool gun. Was also the reason for
Yeah,
we
and
didn't go
we've
through it.
done a spool gun
We've done
before
it.
as well, but
It
it
worked well.
looks like a pretty nice spool gun.
Yeah.
Comes with an extra roller, a couple extra tips.
And
And of course, you got the 110 power adapter here.
And you'll see all these guys, good and bad. You'll see everything there.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, and you get two rolls of wire, one Flux-Core, one solid wire. They're both 30 thousandths wire came with it.
But again, Dean, thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed
I
that.
had a lot of
enjoyed it.
fun.
We had a lot of fun together.